Okay, we're ready for another Photoshop session. This time Viktor has sent me his file. So let's look at that. Viktor has worked on, wow, my brain is slow today. It's an illustration of his module, his architecture with in the world of Super Mario Brothers. It's a real fun idea. It sort of shifts the focus of realism into more of a fantasy world. I think that opens up for a lot of opportunities. Let me have a look at this file, and I want to try to avoid repeating myself. So let's find something that's particular for this illustration and work on that. I can already see some things. The size of the file is decent. Actually, I have a new trick for you. If you want to check your values, there is a possibility to do that by going to, you can go to View, Proof Setup, Custom, and then choose the one that's called working gray dot gain 20%. Press OK, and then you could actually use Command Y to shift between color and value. And this is a lot better than adding an adjustment layer for black and white value. What I see is that Viktor has chosen to use sort of a opposite value structure of what I've shown earlier, and that's totally fine, especially when it's an illustration like this. It's a bit more theatrical, where the deep parts of the illustration is black, and further the forward ones are lighter. I think that works quite well here. Then it looks a bit to be set in a fake or an imagined world. Of course, this could also happen in the real world, so it's totally okay to do it this way. I feel that maybe the background is a bit too dark, and I also feel that some of the transitions are a bit too rough. For instance, in the transition between the roof of the pipe and the wall, it's quite a tough contrast. I also can see some room for improvement on getting a bit more depth and three-dimensional look in the blocks. I think that works quite well in this platform. And there's also some weird things going on with the perspective of the shadows, where you can see that these perspective lines go in a bit of an opposite direction than they should. This one goes in this direction. This goes straight like this. They seem to sort of converge over here. And then, yeah, you see these ones are a bit, the shadows over here are a bit all over the place. We can look into that. Other things I see, I feel that the characters are sort of in the same plane. They seem to be on the same surface. I think I want to look into moving maybe some of the characters into the back of the scene. And the saturation of the colors is quite intense. Of course, this is a Super Mario World, and colors are intense, but when you're working with color, it's good to also bear in mind that the most saturated colors are also quite active for the eye, so maybe you can look into toning those down a bit. This time I'm also using only a mouse and no tablet, because of course not everyone has a tablet, so I think it's useful to show some of the techniques that I use when I don't have my tablet available. What to start with? Oh yeah, it's like a starry night background. Let's start with the starry night. Personally, I would just change it for an image that's not so high contrast. I think it's good to have it a bit more mellow. Actually, let's see what Photoshop can help us with. Edit, generate image. Starry night sky, dark, but with some colors. Art, photo effect, style. Yeah, sure, let's try. I guess that's fun. This one is quite fun. One more time. Generate image, dark, colorful night sky with small stars. Realistic photo. Generate. Now we have something. I think I like this one with a sort of a slanted layout. I think that looks quite good. Interesting thing is that the background ended up being quite good, because it's in line with the color palette that Viktor has chosen, or at least it's related to the color palette. This seems to be a bit too bright. Let's just adjust that a bit. The saturation can maybe go down a bit. The hue could be maybe a tiny bit more purple, and the lightness could go down a bit, I think. A bit more contrast. it might pop a bit too much, so we might lower that down a bit, push it a bit back. What I would like to do is pull this one a bit out, so to keep it even more. This small gap just annoyed me a bit. I think that looks good. The lava is there. What could be cool is to maybe add some glow behind the lava. So I'm just adding a new layer, lava glow, and then basically you can just color pick one of the brighter colors in the lava and choose a soft brush, quite big. Just do this and put it underneath, of course, or not. Actually, maybe we can change the blending mode and make this one pop a bit. Color dodge is a bit too intense, maybe. Overlay, let's see how that works. Yeah, seems to be glowing a bit more. And then, of course, I think I'll tone it down a little bit because it seems to be a bit too bright over here. Let's set up the blocks. I think this works quite well. Because this lava is glowing, I'm thinking that we need to flip the logic of the light a bit. So I think I want to make sure that the light seems to be hitting here. I want the light to hit up here. So this shadow doesn't really make sense. And then we can also start adjusting. Viktor has separated all the pieces of the blocks, and using folders is good, but I think this makes it a bit too complicated. You need folders when you have, let's say, more than 10 items, or don't make folders for one item. Okay, let's start with the first block. I want to make the top a lot darker because it's basically it's away from the light, and our eye will naturally make this a lot darker. Clip it to the layer, and then it's probably real dark. Something like that. The sides, this one I think is going to be quite dark, but not that dark, because it will have a bit of a bounce light, but it's also towards us, so I want to have a contrast for the background. This side gets bounce light from this whole area, so I think that makes sense to keep it quite bright. And I think this one is quite good. I would also try to make the colors maybe a bit bluer. Yeah, doesn't need to be a lot, but a bit. Another thing you should make a point of is that these corners where you have perspective lines that meet in one spot, it sort of kills the perspective. So basically actually now I see why Viktor did this. Take the whole group and basically just move it a bit, either up or down. And I think I want to move it up, then adjust the lava a bit, because it seems to be a bit out of the corner. Like this, like this. Okay, noise. This one I want to make quite a lot of lighter. I want to crank up the saturation, and I want to make it yellow, because this is facing directly towards the lava, so I think that should be popping a bit. The front could be the opposite, make it a bit bluer. 2 blocks done. And then we have this whole thing. I think I'm gonna flatten the top. Merge the whole top, and I'm gonna merge the whole side. So this is one piece. Let's just put it in a folder at once. Block, right. Let's hold off on the top and the side for now and just adjust the front. One layer or one group for each block. Works okay. I want to hold off on choosing the light on these until I know a bit more about the light on top, because now we have a very heavy light source here and we haven't decided where this light comes from. Okay, let's take these 3 blocks and merge them, and they seem to be a bit too light. Push them back a bit, increase the saturation a bit to not lose them. I think I also would try to avoid having items in the dead center of the perspective. It makes it really hard to convey depth. And of course this unit is made to look like this is in the center. This one is a bit tricky. One thing I want to remove are the shadows here. Of course. These are the shadows from the original photo. Makes it a bit tricky. Okay, we can try to fix that. I'm making a copy of this layer because this is a destructive process. And I might actually want to go back. First I'm gonna test something very, very basic. And this might go really poorly. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's okay. For this part, it's a bit more tricky. I might actually just extend this part up a bit. And then I'll fix the transition here really easily by painting this. Do the same here. Let's do this instead. And then move this over here. Remember, this is not rocket science. Nobody dies if there's a bit of roughness. Do it in a way that's efficient. And of course, you want to have some control, so do it as detailed as you like. I'm thinking this shadow we might get away with it, so let's leave it for now. I'm hungry. I'm not doing a good job now. I need to eat. Okay, sorry about that. I was so hungry. Actually not hungry, my brain just stopped working, so it might be a bit confusing now because I don't really know what I was doing before the break, so let's get back on track. I was trying to get Luigi to sort of glow up down here. Didn't work at all. I'm thinking the light sort of bounces here and then onto Mario, so the top layer of this part would be a bit darker. I'm gonna do that with a hue saturation layer. Clip it to the layer beneath as per usual. Make that darker and then darken this. I always forget. Okay, minus 42, maybe there, a bit more. And then Mario would also get sort of the same treatment. And it doesn't need to be that dark. And there's also a bit of bounce light from the surfaces around this guy, so select the whole figure by command clicking the layer mask, and then I could probably do a bit of a soft shading here. Something like that. I would actually like to make a bit of a color shift on the shade. Hue saturation layer on the layer beneath, and then hook this colorize layer, and then you can actually go in and choose what color you want it to have. I'm thinking a bit of a saturated red would be nice. A bit darker, maybe make the color a bit more blue. Looks okay. And then just apply that, because I don't really need to control it further. The same with this guy. New layer, color it. Actually, let's color it with the color so I don't have to do this every time. Dark purple, quite saturated. Okay, G, and paint the color. Let's put it to multiply. And then imagine this being sort of ball shaped. So you want the light to go a bit like this. And then of course the teeth will have some kind of light on them. Hold shift to select more than what you had. And then you can let go of shift. There should be some darkness in the bottom of the pipe here. Probably in the back here too. No worries about being a bit rough. I just want to sort of darken this corner to make it a bit less obvious. Goomba. I think I want to make the Goomba drop sort of a bit further back, so I'm gonna scale him a bit, and I'm gonna drop him a bit behind the blocks, and then to make him sort of blend a bit better to the back, like this. Just make him a tiny bit darker, and we can imagine that there's some kind of bounce light from the tube. Maybe could be fun. So let's select him, make a new layer. I drop this color. Color him like this. Maybe a tiny bit over here too. It's too much, like that. So it bounces off this wall and down on him. And make this one hard light. Release some of the opacity. Yeah, should be okay. I think I want to put a shade on this vertical pipe. New layer, clip it, brush, and make it 400 maybe. And this color could be good. Multiply it is. You could also choose to curve this one just to make it a bit more, I guess you would call it believable, even though this is like that. And use the stamp tool, register that there, line up the pixels, and then paint in the rest of the pipe. Yeah, cool, looks good, better, sort of. I think I'm gonna remove the shade from the bottom part here, because I want this to sort of be glowing because of the light from the bottom. Maybe that's a bit too much. Just do an erase. Yep. Cool. I guess this would also throw some shade onto the wall in the back. I think that could look good. Multiply. And then, of course, this is a bit tricky because the light would hit here and bounce from here, so this would be quite a soft edge. So I'm thinking we could start by adding the shade here, sort of a spread direction like this. This is going to be a bit of a trial and error. Soft brush, huge, and maybe not this color, but more like dark orange, I think would look quite good. I think that punches everything a bit to the back. Here I'm not sure, because this should be, there's no light source here, this one. This guy also needs a bit more light. Light yellow, and then brush, and we can do this and brush it on with a brush that's make a bit more of a punch. Let's throw some shade from this block. Then you have to imagine that this hits here and here. The whole surface underneath here is hit by light. So this one is hit by the light, and the angle would of course be up from the. Let's see how this works. I want to have a dark blue. Make this one big. And of course it needs to be there in the back. And it needs to be multiplied or something like that. Maybe even color, hard light, pin light. Let's try overlay. Doesn't look that good. Actually, not sure. I think this one is wrong. Yeah. That fits better. That also means we could make the whole front side even darker, and we should make the shade a bit lighter, like that, and perhaps a bit softer. Sort of makes sense. I want to make this one even brighter. Lightness, and we can even make Luigi's shadow. Or actually, let's make a light layer just to clip it to him. Select a very bright. Yeah, this is good. This is tricky. Let's save a copy and just have a comparison. I'm not feeling in this. Is this the original? It's the new one. Guess the perspective works a bit better, and the light is a bit better. Can work on some shade on this one too. Block right, new layer, multiply, 80% perhaps. Then this of course throws shade up here, there perhaps. I want to make the top a bit darker. Better. These ones are weird. I think it's because of this yellow line. I might actually do this one all dark, and at least I want to try it. I like what's going up, oh no, up here. I think I might want to do more of that. But then there's also shade here. I think this might be a bit lighter. I sort of want the lava to glow a bit more. I might either duplicate this layer, and then could even do that, and lower this quite a lot. Too much or good? It's actually quite good. Let's keep it. The last thing I want to do is just put some highlights on Mario. Add a layer on Mario. Find a very bright yellow. Brighter, brighter, even brighter I think. There. Draw with, yeah, should be okay. Clip it to Mario. And then just highlight a tiny bit on this side. I think that's quite fun. This doesn't work, so let's get rid of that. And that should be this one and this one. Better, better, better. So here we have the original. I realized that it's more of the same things that I've been talking about. So sorry for repeating. Generally, that's what most of these illustrations struggle with. I think getting a grip of the value structure, the lights and the darks, and making logical decisions concerning light sources and shape. Some adjustments on color and saturation. Before, after. Before, after. And then before, black and white. After, black and white. Squinting helps. I'm not super happy with Luigi. His shape is sort of lost a bit. Not the best walkthrough of this for my part. I'm not that happy with this. I think my brain is a bit scattered. I think that's also quite typical of when you work with Photoshop and these things. Some days works well, some days don't. You just have to get used to that. That's how it goes. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you could pick up some good stuff. Maybe Viktor at least got some tips on how to think on his illustration. So see you next time.